Om. 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 Sairam everyone,
Sairam.
offering my most humble pranams at the lotus feet of our beloved Bhagwan and thanking him for this opportunity. Sairam everyone, thank you for this opportunity at the outset. And I'm Harish, Munagala. I know I'm looking at the group here. I think I pretty much met every one of you over several years being here in Region 10. It's nice to connect with you again today on this wonderful satsang. And I was thinking about what to talk in this session, and I looked at the picture or the image that was being shared around. And interestingly, it says a storytelling session must illustrate incidents and morals imprinted on the heart. They must be learned not by heart, but for and through the heart. I pray to Swami that he gives me the strength and he guides me through this session. And I'm going to just talk about my journey and some of the thoughts that I was thinking about as I was thinking about my connection with Swami. So I want to go back to my childhood and talk a little bit about how we got into Swami's fold and how we were introduced to Swami. I was born in Hyderabad, the city in southern part of India. And then after a few months of my birth, we moved to a small town in the northern part of Andhra Pradesh called Godavari Khani. It's a beautiful small town on the banks of river Godavari. We were at like about a couple of kilometers away from the beautiful river. But that place also happens to be the midst of several coal mines. Singareni Collieries was the name of the coal mines, and with coal mines, it also meant there were several industries around. The National Thermal Power Corporation and several other industries were around. The reason why I'm mentioning these, I'll touch upon this later on. But as we moved to that small town, and it was a state government-led organization, so we were supposed to get staff quarters for my family to stay, but there was some delay. So we were ended up, or we were placed in staff quarters of one of the executives of the organization, and the executive is and their family happened to be Swami's devotees. And I've heard this thing in several experiences that somehow the women in the family, the mothers, they are more inclined, or they have a lot of that bent of mind, and they are usually the first ones to take a step in matters like these, the divine matters, right? And it so happened that my mother, she came to know about Swami, and through the family whom we were the neighbors of. So my mom learned about Swami. She took me and my sister to attend bhajans and all that, and that went on. But in the initial days, for actually several days or months together, my father was a staunch opponent of all this. So my mother would take my sister and I to the bhajans, and we would come back home with vibhuti, and sometimes with the picture of Swami in our hand. And our father would wipe the vibhuti away and then tear the picture and throw it away and all that. So my father could not connect to Swami initially. Then what happened is I would like all of you to travel with me to on this journey over the next few minutes. So like growing up, many of us we visit our maternal grandparents' house or paternal grandparents' house. So I'm talking about 1990. So when I was about 3 years old. And by then, I believe we were out of the staff quarters, and we have gotten a place of our own and all that. But during the summer holidays, for some reason, my father could not travel with us. So me, my mother, and my sister, we started on a journey to Hyderabad. So woke up really early in the morning. There used to be a train that used to come at like 5 o'clock, and it would take a 5-hour journey. So 3-year-old and a 6-year-old. So my mother really woke up early, got us ready and all that. And we were in a rush. We went to the station, the railway station, got into the train, but somehow, we couldn't wake up. My mother couldn't wake up early enough to get the breakfast preparations, done for the kids. So, so we were there, and I have vague memories of this. I don't claim to remember everything of this because, I was just a 3-year-old. So after a couple of hours of journey, there is a station or a major railway station called Kazipet or Warangal Kazipet. This is probably a tier 2 city in the state of Telangana today. So it was a major halting spot. So apparently, we were crying a lot for breakfast and all that. So it was good 7-8 o'clock, and usually the train that we were on is supposed to halt at that station for about 10 to 15 minutes. That's the normal timing of it, some engine stuff and all that. So my mother with both of us, we got down for having the breakfast, and we stepped out. I think we just bought some breakfast and all that, and suddenly the train started moving. It did not essentially stay for the full 15 minutes. Probably in 5 minutes or something, the train started moving. So my mother with both of us and some breakfast in her hand, we were trying to rush around and catch the train and all that. And obviously, because my mother, her hands were full, and yours truly was a pretty notorious and very naughty at that age. So looking at all the commotion and all that, I apparently started running towards the train, and the train started moving, and I really got close to the train. And not just that, I slipped and fell in between the tracks actually. So fell from the platform, and I could have fallen anywhere, but I fell in between the tracks. And the first thought my mother had was to drop everything and shout Swami's name. And what happened was, we met somebody on the train, but everybody understood what's going on, and someone pulled the chain, and without a scratch, I came out. I came out as if, I went to a park, played for a little bit, and I came back. And so that particular experience, as soon as we came back, and then, we went about our journey. And when my father was informed of this, so and so happened, that started kind of transformation in him. And he slowly started, after we came back, he slowly started warming up to this idea of Swami and bhajans, and he is probably the force behind me getting saved from otherwise could have been a pretty tragic day, as one could imagine. But the story doesn't end there. So this was a May of probably April of 1990. So my family, slowly now with my father, we all started to go attend the bhajans, and slowly started getting warmed up to the idea of Swami. And then in 1991, in the month of September, that was the first time when we as a family, along with a bunch of other devotees from our place and that district, actually, we all visited Parthi. It was the very first trip for us and our family. And at that time, I was 4.5 years old. And Swami at that time called all the people who came from our region or in that group into the bhajan mandir, not the interview room, but the larger bhajan mandir. And apparently, I was sitting right at the feet of Swami. And later on, my parents, I think, I just ran in front along with the commotion, and somehow I figured a spot right at his feet, and I was constantly touching his feet, pressing his feet, all through that. It's quote unquote interview. He was talking with everybody who came, and in his way, he was talking about several things, but it was in the larger bhajan mandir. I have no clear memories of it. I have vague memories, probably my mind stitching some mental pictures based on what I've been told. But apparently, I was sitting right through the time at Swami's feet, and through that entire session. And since then, almost every year we would go and visit Parthi. And my parents, by this time, my father, my parents, both of them are fully engrossed in the Satya Sai organization. And our regular routine, our weekly routine, at that time, I'm sure who grew up in India would definitely know, here there were daily bhajans. And even today, a lot of such Sai organization in India, there are several samitis that do daily bhajans. It was almost a routine for us to attend almost every day bhajans, and Nara and Sevas and all that. And also, my parents also took on to be the Bala Vikas teacher. So they were, me and my sisters, are Bala Vikas teachers as well. Uh, so my relationship with Swami, would almost since the time I could remember, that's when it started, and it just continued to grow with me. We would look forward to our visits to Parthi every year, go spend some time. And as I started growing up, we would go with a lot of new devotees and all. And we would, I would, I was the designated guide in one sense for the new devotees who would travel along with us and our Samiti. And I would take them around Parthi and show them all the places in and around Parthi and all, as a kid, 7 or 8-year-old kid. And through that process, when I think about it and reflect on it, I remember the 2 letters I wrote for Swami in my entire uh, time of physical letters of visiting Parthi and offering letters to Swami. And one of those happened probably when I was 8 or 9-year-old. I mentioned about the small town where I grew up, a town called Godavari Kani, the place in and around several coal mines and industrial area. But it also meant that there was a lot of dust pollution in that area because of the open cast mines and all that. And that caused several health issues with my mother, particularly. She had asthma, and which meant every winter she would suffer through the entire winter. We would hear her cough all through the night for several months, and whatever we medication or anything we tried, that did not help. That went on for several years. And one of the years when we were visiting Parthi, I remember writing a letter to Swami. I believe that was my first one, where I mentioned everything about my mother and how she was suffering with asthma and all that. And luckily, Swami accepted that letter because again, several people would know you writing your letter is one part, but whether it gets, of course, Swami knows everything, but literally whether it gets picked up or not is completely a matter of chance. So Swami picked that letter up, and magically that winter and subsequent winters, my mother, did not, have those spells of asthma. And I completely believed, and that was something that my parents, and they would also, if you really believe in something or want something, offer it to Swami with your prayers, and Swami would listen to it and take care of it, is what was something that was instilled in my mind from a very young age. Um, Talking about the second letter that I've written, and I kind of will fast forward here, or let me talk about that here in a bit. Let me talk about the time in between, right? And as I was growing up, uh, the practice continued, right? Annual visits to Parthi and all that, and through that process, my relationship with Swami also evolved. As I became more of an adolescent and a teenager, somewhere along that process, I started developing a little more deeper meaning and connection to Swami, where as a kid, a visit to Parthi always meant that every day you wake up at 2:30 in your shed, take a cold water bath, go fall asleep on your father's lap by 4 o'clock, and 7 o'clock magically the divine music will play, and we all get up, have a nice darshan, and then go around, have your breakfast, and then immediately run back to the darshan lines, put your kerchief again, or sit there and wait for your evening darshan. So that was the routine for our annual trip. And that was the kind of thing that I would always look forward to, being that young kid. And as I grew up in more and more into this adults and a teenager, a couple of experiences I would say had a, and looking back, reflecting back, I think that those are a couple of experiences that kind of changed my relationship with Swami to a slightly deeper level, which is Swami again gave an opportunity to take a couple of individuals who are, one was a lady who was a wife of a carpenter and a mother of 3 kids. And the other gentleman, and these were 2 separate instances. The other gentleman was a tailor. So, from very humble beginnings, but both of them had a heart issue, which was, obviously, as you can imagine, it was crippling their families, their livelihoods. And in both the situations, the scenarios were very, dire. To the fact that wherever they go, the hospitals, whichever doctors they visit, they had mentioned that you need to get your heart operated probably in next month or so. That was the kind of indication they were given. And given the economic situation, and they were not in a situation to do that, and somehow the thing came up, and I was, I think, 18, 19-year-old. This was consecutive years. And they came to our Samiti center back in our town, and then somehow the opportunity came to me, whether my father asked, hey, do you want to accompany them and take them to the hospital and see what they say, take them to the hospital. And something I've mentioned earlier, right? I was already a tour guide in a different capacity, self-declared tour guide in one sense, for all the new devotees. And that was something that I was doing in a slightly different fashion. So when my father asked me as a teenager, I was like, yeah, absolutely. And in both the situations, Swami blessed both of those individuals, and they were admitted into the hospital immediately. And for many of you and who know the ways of the hospitals, Swami's hospitals, once anybody goes there, they really diagnose them, and based on the severity and their assessment, they either get them in immediately, or give a particular date saying that, okay, take these precautions and come back after this much time, all part and parcel of scheduling. And both of those were fortunately, severe situations, and Swami blessed both of them, and got them operated. And as I reflect on those, and through that process, again, they are not privy to what Swami is, his mission is, and all that. And both of those individuals, as we came back, uh, their gratitude was, they were expressing deep gratitude towards Swami as well as me as an individual. And I started thinking around, what is the larger mission of Swami, or, what is the kind of impact Swami is having on individuals through those families. And as I reflect on that, it was also a defining moment in my relationship to Swami as well, where, I could see firsthand the kind of impact that he was making in the lives of uh, people. And one more similar story on the same lines, and this was actually when we were much more younger, where my father, he took a small kid with a similar heart ailment to Swami, and that was more of a miraculous thing. And that she was a little girl, again from humble beginnings, where the family couldn't afford a medical treatment of that magnitude, where there was a little girl with a hole in her heart. And again, several doctors they went to, they all said uh, it's a dire situation, and this little, I think 7 or 8 year old, she needs to be operated immediately. But in that situation, my father took that girl. That was much before what I mentioned earlier. And one thing my father always believed was, before going to hospital, he would always make sure to take the patients for Swami's darshan. And then, the very next day or so, whenever it is, they would go. So similarly, they followed the same thing, and they took that little girl and, in the darshan for all that. And after darshan, they took her to the hospital, and the doctor said that, yes, this girl has some sort of heart, ailment, or a little hole in her heart, but that is nothing to be worried for about 10 more years. She's absolutely fine. Come back after 10 years was what the doctors there said. And we strongly believed that it was Swami's darshan and blessing that he cured that girl in one sense, and made sure that she doesn't have to go through such a massive procedure at such a young age, such a young age. So all these things have impacted me as an individual, as a growing up adult, young adult, and seeing, witnessing all these aspects of it. Then I'll fast forward and talk about my second letter I wrote for Swami, which was at this time about 11 years ago. And this was January of 2011. And so at that point of time, my sister and my brother-in-law and my niece, they were in Bangalore. And she was a newborn, so there is a festival or a ritual around newborns and the festival of Sankranti. So my parents, they and I at that time I was working in Hyderabad. I graduated and I started working there in Hyderabad. So my parents went a few days earlier, and I believe they went to attend service in Parthi, the annual service. So they did their service in the ashram, and then they went to Bangalore. And as I was traveling to meet the family, I told my parents, I'm coming there, but I want to go visit Swami, and then have darshan, and then I also offer my letter to him. And that letter was for my, so in that letter, the second letter I wrote was for Swami's permission, in one sense, to travel here, travel to the US for my master's education, all that. So that's what I wrote in that letter to Swami as a prayer. And then, so I mentioned that to my parents. And so the idea was for me to go to Parthi, and then the day before Sankranti, spend my day in Parthi, just have that one day and have Swami's darshan, and if Swami blesses, offer my letter, and then go join the family for the day of Sankranti, which is the next day. And this was January of 2011, and that was the time when Swami was not regularly giving darshans, in one sense. So you wouldn't know. whether he will come for darshan or not. And particularly the morning darshans were very rare at that time. So but I was thinking that it's the festival of Bhogi, so Swami will come for these days was my hypothesis, or my hope rather. So I went on the day of Bhogi. I had my letter ready and all that, and luckily I got the first row, but Swami did not come come that day. So it was a test for me as I reflect on that in one sense, which is probably it was Swami's way of testing whether I will stay back and wait for his darshan, or would I choose my family and that festival and the ritual I was talking about. So so I called up my parents and I told them, okay, Swami did not come today, and I'm not coming for Sankranti to meet with you all. I want to make sure I definitely meet Swami and have his darshan. And I stayed back on that day, but then I was in the other fix, which is I already got my luck, and I got my first line in darshan. So it's hard, right? I mean, you cannot expect to have the lightning strike twice. So I was now of the opinion that okay, I may not likely get the first line, and I will not get a good view of Swami. And by then he was only coming in the car. But again, Swami blessed, and I received. I was in the first line again, and he came, and I offered the letter, and through the glass window, there was somebody who was handing the letter. So Swami took that letter, and I considered that as a blessing. And at that time, and also going back a few years, I was mentioning about my teenage years or growing up years. Once I was through that phase, I started developing a connection where in my every visit, I would pine for a good view from Swami looking at me. And I would know what that moment is. And I would wait for that, whether it's a 5-day trip, a 7-day trip. I would have a connecting moment with Swami when I know that, he looked at me, or, he had that focus on me. He was staring at me. And, that would fulfill my trip. And, I would get fully recharged, and then, come back and go about my things. So that was that moment for me, in one shot, Swami granted that. Otherwise, in previous trips, I would pine for it. I would wait for it, for that one glance from him. And, on, I think it was January 15th of 2011 is when, he accepted that letter. And, and then, I went about meeting my family and all that. And as we all know, a few months later, April 24th, Swami left his mortal coils, and we, as family again, we ran about, and immediately went, and 24th, 25th, we spent there a couple of days. My parents stayed longer, and I came back. And later that year, I traveled here to the United States. And so in one way, if I think about it, how my relationship evolved, right? As a kid, it was different. Growing up years as a teenager, it was me forming my own bond and connection with Swami. And 2011, when Swami left his physical body and I left India, came here to the United States, and my relationship sort of started in a different way, where I was here in the university, and then I moved to Austin in 2013. And again, I consider it absolutely Swami's way of pulling me towards him. And I've largely painted a picture of my life, but in between there were pockets when I was in my undergrad, college, and all that, when I would still maintain the connection with the organization in that sense. When I go back to my home for holidays and all that. But through all this time, when I reflect on on all that, I feel like, I was probably busy with several things, life in one sense, but he was always, behind me, uh, taking me through everything in every step of important step of my life. And so when I came to Austin again, he inspired me to do that search and figure out where, if there is a Sai center of, I was totally hoping to find a temple to take my new car and get that puja done. And lo and behold, I land on Sai Center of Austin website. And then, it was, I think, March 21st of 2013, 21st or 22nd. The rest is as they say, is history over the last, 9 years or so. So through last few years, I would say, particularly, the phase I'm talking about, being here in Austin, and this phase of, my journey and relationship with Swami has been primarily through dreams and communication with Swami. And I would have, if I'm lucky, I would have two or three dreams in a year. Otherwise, it would be one. And very pertinent, again, like I said, I may have tried to run around, but he never left me. And he always would intervene at the right moments when I need him, and he would provide me guidance. Some of those are really, silly, or, I don't know the deeper meaning of those, frivolous, if I go back and reflect on them. And by the way, sometime around 2014 is when I started journaling my dreams, so that, I have a record of it. And that was also inspired by one of the Swami students, who mentioned that, in one of his talks, he mentioned about, journaling the dreams. And that's when I started noting down some of the dreams. So I'll share a couple of them. I know I believe I am over time. Sriram, am I okay to go for a few more minutes? Or
Man, it's a blessing to listen to you. Go for it.
Okay. Thank you. So I'll talk about a couple of them. One of them is back in 2014. So in Austin, I joined Dell here, and that was my first job, in one sense, here in the US. I worked in India, but here it was my first job. But and I spent for about a year and a half there, and that was the time when Dell, as an organization, they were going through all this privatization, and people who have been following Dell's journey closely, right around that time frame, Dell bought all the shares back and they went private. And it was a very uncertain time. And for someone who's working here on a work visa, again, as many of you here may relate to it, how and what sort of uncertainty plays in your mind. And I was no different. I was going through a roller coaster of emotions, and in a few, it was not like I was informed, or my there were a group of individuals who were a part of a program, university relations program, and 30-40 of us were in a limbo, because we were not being told what is next for us. Will we be absorbed into different parts of the organization and all that? So there was a bit of uncertainty going on, and I was starting to look around, trying to apply for jobs and all that. And during that time, I remember this interesting dream where Swami comes in the dream, and the setting is the time of Ramayana, the Rama avatar, and the location is the tip of India, from where Rama and Lakshmana, Hanuman, they built a bridge to Lanka, right? So that was the location, and I was there. Of course, I'm talking about in the dream, and I was there, and a divine master is standing there. He took me there, and he points me, and go. Rama is recruiting his Vanara Sena. Go attend that interview. You will be selected. So that so that was, you know, the dream I got, and I did not know the meaning of it, but you know what the meaning of it probably, you know, in my interpretation followed after the next few days when, you know, actually Swami has shown Rama and Lakshmana. He's shown me two, both of them. He mentioned Rama and Lakshmana, go, they are interviewing for Vanarsena, go attend your interview. Then after a few days, I got an interview opportunity from a small little startup here, which had, you know, two important C-level executives who were a part of, you know, the whole process of interviewing. So in my interpretation, that was Swami's way of saying, go join this company or go attend the interview at this company where two individuals will interview you, and that materialized. And by that time, the uncertainty at Dell was also resolved. So we were all, the 30 of us who were part of that program, were getting absorbed into the organization. But I took it as a sign from Swami to, you know, leave that organization and take the plunge and join this small startup with those two co-founders in one sense. And looking back, I think that was one of the best decisions I took in my career, and you know, that was a really good decision for me, in the aspect of the career. So that was one of the dreams. And then all through, you know, whatever, you know, any important milestones or anything with me, you know, for my wedding, you know, Swami again, you know, came in the dream and gave his explicit guidance or sort of stamp or approval, which I was waiting for, you know, for some sort of sign or approval for him, which he blessed me with. And I'll skip through and talk about, you know, one of the more recent dream in, I would say, which is, I also have made note of the dates and all that. So in June of 2020, again, this was one of the dreams. He, along with one of my professors from undergrad back in India, she is also a staunch devotee of Swami, and you know, I was there with her in Parthi, and I don't know the significance of why, you know, my professor was there along with me, but the summary of that dream is where in which he advised me to start reading Prema Vahini. He said, you know, start reading Prema Vahini is what he said in that. And he not only gave that direction, but also after, and Swami knows about me and my laziness in one sense, I guess. But after a few days, I find out that Radio Sai has started converting all Swami's Vahinis, particularly in Telugu, as audiobooks, and they have started publishing audiobooks. So he not only gave me that guidance, he also made sure, you know, he spoon fed me with these audiobooks, which still is my preferred medium. So, you know, that was one guidance he gave me. And then last year in March, so February time was when, for the people in Austin, or for many people in Regent, and we all know the Snowmageddon of 2021. Almost after a month of that, in late in March, he comes in my dream, and it was in darshan, and it so happened that in that dream there was also the family who introduced us to Swami. You know, that gentleman, he was also there. He was the person who walked beside Swami for darshan, right? You know, there are people who walk around Swami, elderly. So he was there, and then Swami picked me up from darshan lines, and then he asked me to follow me, and he took me into the Yajur Mandir. And I walk into the Yajur Mandir, and I find that inside the Yajur Mandir, it is full of, there is snow everywhere. And, you know, I've gone mad and played snowballs and all that with Swami inside of Yajur Mandir, where it was, you know, also, I think this was also the time of Shivaratri, March of 2020, not 21. No, 2021. So yeah, so this was right around the time of Shivaratri. So kind of Kailasa inside the Yajur Mandir was what I was witnessing and playing snowballs. And then more recently, as of I think I'll wrap up with this one. Can I share my screen, Sriram?
Yeah,
My,
sure. Yeah, let
okay.
me. Are you able to share, or should I give you co-host? Let me make you
I
co-host.
think I need to be made a co-host.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So this was right around birthday of last year. A couple of days before birthday is when he was in the dream, and he asked me to sing Brahmanda Nayaka Baba song. So I sang that to my heart's content to him over multiple with a couple of days and all that. I was really and again people who many of you may be relating to this aspect where you get a song, it gets stuck in your mind, and you chew it, you ruminate it for several days, you enjoy it. So I went through all that phase, and then on the day of the birthday celebrations on the 23rd, this happened, which again is a slight way of he reminding me of or I made that association. It could be a complete chance or fluke, as you may call it, but let me start sharing my screen, and I'll share a bit of this. Let me know if you can see and hear. Right after the discourse, so this is what Swami is talking about, and this is the morning program. There was a music program and all that, and then there was Swami's discourse.
This birthday of the body, Swami is beyond, and there will be distribution of prasad to everybody. Kindly remain seated.
So that happened, and really I was it was late in the night. I was still seeing the program, and I suddenly I was reminded of the dream, and I was smiling. And it is unusual that in Parthi, whenever there are bhajans, they begin with Ganesh, right? At least I don't remember of instances where bhajans just break into some other song apart from Ganesh. And I thought that was an interesting moment that happened fairly recently. Again, it could be chance, but the way I made my association is, okay, Swami, you came in my dream, and you're kind of playing a divine Leela here, is what I thought. I think that is it, Sriram. I would like to thank you, and again, for the opportunity, and thank you, Swami, for the opportunity. Yeah.
Hey, thank you so much, Brother Harish. Yeah, man. Now it was beautiful. I mean, you've taken us through a wonderful journey and so many interesting moments, beginning from how how your family got initiated into Swami, and then from your dad, in one sense, not believing in Swami, in fact, and then from there almost a 180 after that incident, that very in one sense it's slightly chilling incident of you between the train tracks. Oh man, just to imagine that is a little chilling, all right. But just so beautiful, how you've actually had this whole constant journey. And in one sense, what I observed is, like Swami says, the satsanga, right? Incidentally, you've always managed to have people who of the Sai fold around you. You talked about the undergrad professor back home and stuff, a professor who was also into the Sai fold. So somehow Swami has, like you said, truly held you close to him in one sense, right? and always just walked with you. I think one of the beautiful
Totally.
one of the beautiful things that you mentioned, right, was in one sense you pine for his eyes or for his glance, and so right now is that glance for you only largely in the form of dreams, or are there other ways through which you perceive his glances? Because for his glance is constant on us, but but it's up to us to perceive it now that he's in his omnipresent form. So how do you are there other ways through which you perceive his glance and his presence?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the process of that evolution, I would say. And he keeps reminding me of his presence in many ways. One is through dreams, and then there are many other situations. Actually, I have made note of one of those experiences here, where this was in Soup Kitchen here in Austin, and
Yeah.
this was, I think, back in 2016, when one of the days we were serving or cleaning up the dishes. At the very end, there was one more person along with me, Sister Prati, and we were there in Soup Kitchen, and out of nowhere, randomly, we experienced a divine fragrance. It was there for a fleeting few moments. We both observed it, and then it was gone. And there is no rhyme or reason or a physical explanation for the source of it, because it was a closing time. There was nobody coming in. It was the cleaning time, and if anything, you could smell is the smell of all the detergent with which we were cleaning the floors. So there are some of those instances where, and then a random instance where a few years ago, here in Austin Hindu temple, there was the ceremony that is performed when a new temple is built, right? That prana pratishtha and all that. So this was several years ago for the Shirdi Baba temple in Austin Hindu temple. I was driving there very early on in the morning, and there's I happened to stop at one of the signals, and one of the persons who homeless person who comes in and knocks on the door and asks for some food. It was very early in the morning, and my normal thought is, you would, if I have anything, I would give something to him. Otherwise, I would just drive away. For some reason, that day, I decided to ask him to get into the car, and I took him to Sonic, which was nearby, and got some breakfast from him for him, and we got into some sort of conversation and all that, and the conversation culminated in he saying, God is there in everyone. So there was a bit of discussion that happened, but all I recollect from the summary of that conversation was where he ended just before getting down from his car. He said, God is there in everyone. And then that's what I have noted here in my place where I track. So there are several of those instances where he constantly keeps on reminding and shows his presence. And you mentioned about he being with me or very near me. As I read through Prema Vahini, like I mentioned, Swami advised me or directed me. And one thing that really stood out for me in Prema Vahini, or that the realization dawned on me, and also for folks joining from Austin here, this is one aspect which is discussed by Brother Ramesh in our satsangs, where he talks about the ways of a monkey and the cat, right? The Markata Kishora Nyaya and Marjala Kishora Nyaya, the two ways of surrender, where like a monkey, you hold on to the mother, and the mother monkey carries you around. And the more I read through Prema Vahini, that Swami talks about both of these and gives examples for all that. So when I reflect on that, I always thought that I'm the monkey, but the more and more I think about it, I'm like the cat, where he is clearly carrying me around is what I feel in every step of my life.
Yeah, man. as the name Harish goes, you're the king of monkeys in one sense, and the way I understand and interpret that, having known you for a long time now, is I've always known you to be a pretty even keel person, and how Swami always talks about the monkey mind and the vagaries of the mind, but I've always known you to be pretty much in control of your emotions and pretty even keel. And I think that sense of balance, I think, was very, very important, because you were such a crucial and important figure in the YA journey of the Austin Sai Center, especially over the last 10 years, I think you're a very critical figure who has helped kickstart, in one sense, reinvigorate the whole YA journey out in locally here in Austin. And I think Swami couldn't have handpicked a better person than you, planted you in Austin, and then kickstarted what has been an incredible YA journey ever since then. So, deeply want to thank you, my brother.
Absolutely. And as you bring that up, I would say along with our next speaker here, Sister Rema. So she was my YA counterpart, the young adult counterpart when I started here in Austin. So I think this is also a divine
I know, right?
plan and design where, we both are going back to back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So are there any questions for Brother Harish that any of you have? Feel free to pose it. I mean, there are no, good questions just about anything, anything from your heart, like we mentioned.
Thank you, Sriram. I can't stop myself. I was just waiting for you to ask this question. Balaji here. Sairam, Harish, brother, it was so wonderful listening to you this evening. And you made an excellent presentation. And I felt like, this is how an ideal Sai devotee should be. Calm and serene, thorough presentations, walking us through step by step how nicely you moved and how Swami made you walk through you in your life, and the way you presented it was excellent. There were so many moments I got goosebumps, especially when you mentioned about the time when Swami picked your letter. We all understand how it feels, and just like Brother Sriram mentioned, looking for the glance that he will look at us. We, our heart knows that moment, that he's trying to connect to us. That is wonderful presentation. Thank you very much, brother.
Thank you, Brother Balaji. And wholeheartedly offer all this to Swami. It was he who was speaking through me, and yeah, all the experiences, and you could connect it because we are here together in his company, and it was he.
But yeah, thank you, Brother Balaji. I could sense that genuinity and that that emotion coming through. It always makes such a big difference when we have this sort of satsang. Thank you so much. Anybody else who wants to share?
Sairam Sriram, I just wanted to add a thank you note to Harish. From the time he came into the Austin Sai Center, he was such an inspiration, great role model, very young, but very level-headed person, very devoted, very sincere. And right now he's also an SSC teacher for Group 4. And we are so thankful that he's an SSC teacher, right? He's such a role model to children, to young adults. We are very thankful to Swami for having sent him to Austin.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Binduka.
Anybody else?
Sairam, this is Soundarya from Irving Sai Center.
Sairam.
Sairam.
Yeah. Usually Friday evenings are very tiring after working for the whole week. So listening to you, Harish Bhaiya, it's like it took all my weekdays stress away. So thank you so much, Sairam.
Thank you, Sairam. And as you say that, I'm reminded of our initial Austin weekly meetups. They were on Friday evenings. So that was definitely a great way to end the week. And it was a great experience for me personally, wrapping up the work and the week and just heading to the center on Friday evenings here in Austin.
Anybody else?
This is from San Antonio, Gitu.
Sairam.
Sairam, Gitu.
Sairam, Harish Bhaiya, you really taught very well, and you made me. What is Baba? We have to just think of Baba all the time, and every note you gave me, it was very nice. Thank you for everybody. Yes.
Thank you, Gituji.
Sairam, Harish, this is Shyam.
Sairam uncle.
Sairam Babu, pardon me. Enjoyed your talk, and I really thank you for all that you've done for the YAs in our region. And during your term, we had a wonderful time, and thank you for all the initiatives and guiding force in the process. And we look forward to seeing more of you in the days and years ahead, because we need everyone to help us in this journey together to Swami.
Absolutely.
And your presence will make a wonderful difference, like Sriram mentioned. And I really was touched by all your various, incidents that you shared right from your birth to when you came here and everything. Everyone's so beautiful, and like everybody said, it was so balanced, so serene. I think I can do with a little bit more of that serenity myself. So I'm looking forward to that. Thank you for leading the way as always. The YAs do that, and who better than you to help us in that area? Thank you so much. By setting your own personal example, Sairam.
Thank you, Shamangal. It was thoroughly his guidance and his act.
Thank you, Babu. Thank you.
Sai Ram.
Anybody else? If not, we'll move on to actually Sister Rema. I'm actually also looking forward to what she has to share. I'm sure she has a lot to share. So thank you once again, Harish. Was a joy, man, listening and listening to the entire journey. So with that being said, Sister Rema, the floor is all yours. Actually looking forward to it. Sairam.
Hi, Ram. Can you all hear me?
Yep.
Sai Ram, yes.
Okay. Yeah. So, Sriram, do I have enough time, or should I
Go for
rush
it.
and finish it?
No, go for it. Take your time. You're not in a rush at all. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, Sairam, my humble pranams to Bhagavan, my beloved, my dear Swami, and thank you for giving this opportunity to share my bond, my friendship that I share with you, Bhagavan. I know you are the supreme power, but you are my life, my love, my breath, my guiding light. And I submit unto you, Swami. Think through me and guide my thoughts, talk through me, use me as an instrument, and help me convey what you want me to convey. So thank you, everybody. So to start my Sai and I experience, right? I should start by saying the invitation that I got from Sriram. Okay, so so it was on Feb 7th, 2022, and it was my birthday, and I turned 40 years, which means officially this is my last year being a YA. And when I got that day, what I did was I took off from work. I went to the Shirdi Sai temple, Venkateshwar temple, and came back. And that is when I am getting this text message from you. And when I got this message, I was like, for some reason, tears were running out of my eyes, and I was observing my state of mind. Where am I right now? When they're asking me to talk about you, my experience, am I ready? And that's where I felt that 40 years, the way Swami has nurtured, guided, evolved me. And I said, Swami, I am ready. I'm ready to talk about that friendship, about that companionship that you blessed me these many years, and without, I wouldn't say I was completely out of fear, but I did not doubt. I said, yes, I will do it. So I couldn't start without saying that. And that was my, birthday gift from Swami. And, it was, I can't ask anymore because I'm not an active YA. I know none of you know me. Yeah, but my journey is, just with Swami, and I'm not there yet to be part of this bigger group, but some kids need a little more training. So, but I'm there now. But I just said thank you to Swami for making me worth to come and talk in this platform without that fear, without being vulnerable, without that the weakest version of Rema. Now I am Rema 40.1.0, and I'm happy the way I am. So thanks to Baba. Then let's, I'll give a little context about my upbringing. So I'm born and brought up in Kerala, Trivandrum city. My family, my father, mother, then I have an elder sister and a twin sister. Her name is Radha. And for some reason, maybe karma or something Bhagavan wanted to teach us. My father was into alcoholism. And so we had a disturbed family setting. With that being said, whenever I would say that whenever one hand is down, there is someone comes in to fill that gap. That's what I felt always, the way Swami has taken charge and led us so far. So my father was a doctor, veterinary doctor. My mother was a Gandhian philosophy teacher, lecturer, I would say. And my elder sister, she was a backbone. Wherever my father couldn't, she was there as a backbone, holding the fort. And me and my twin sister was very young to understand what is happening. We know that there is, shouting and all kind of, roller coaster in our family, but we didn't understand anything. Okay, but I can say that irrespective of everything, my dad was my best friend because I love chocolates and he always get chocolate for me. He would give us money to get, so he was my best buddy. And I didn't see, what is happening. I really understand what was happening. So while this drama of life was happening, my mother, she was trying to understand. She was in search. Why me, Bhagavan? Why me? Why is it happening with us? How are we going to survive? And during that time, my mom's colleague, Sujata, teacher, so through her, my mom got to know about this mystic man, Sri Satya Sai Baba, and she also offered a book to my mom, and she read the book, and she found the teachings of Swami very interesting, and I think she found some kind of a consolation from his teaching. So that was happening in the background. I was not aware of any of these, and so one day, not exactly I remember which grade I was, but definitely in elementary. So on our way back from school. So back in those days, we walk back and forth. We didn't have a car or anything. And so on our way back from school, there was an aunt who normally waved us because me and my twin sister, people were like happy to see the twins and they would wave to us. So on our way back, that aunt handed over a stack of photos. And I don't know who was in that picture. So we got home and handed that to my mom. And they didn't know that it was a calling card for my mother. So my mom was waiting for a sign. She'd been reading about this mystic man, and she wanted a sign that he is calling her, and that was a calling card. And she, along with the friend colleague, went to Puttaparthi in a couple of months. And following that summer, me, the entire family, we all went to Puttaparthi. And back in those days, going to Puttaparthi is a fun thing. Okay, in 2 days in train, mother would pack food, then the train would stop in the at the station. You can get the snack. So that is what I know then about the journey Puttaparthi. But I still remember, as Harish mentioned, there was a train incident as well. But respecting the time, I will discuss that later. But I still remember, getting there. I don't know, not the darshan hall, but somewhere where we can peek the Swami. So I have seen that floating, person floating in orange robe. So it's in me. I remember vaguely all those, the Swami experience. I never had a chance to see him in a close proximity, but from there, right? I know that he was in charge. And let's say, and so that is how we got into Swami's folds. It was my mom. It was actually, after visiting Puttaparthi, we got into bhajans. So bhajan was a norm. We would go to Samadhi, and back in those days, people would come home and we would do the bhajan. That is how it was. So while everything that was happening, all this drama of life was happening, we thought, this prayers is helping our father to transform. But later I realized my father was an elevated soul. He passed away when I was 18. He was an elevated soul, and Swami was using him as an instrument to transform us, not him. So back in those days, it was tough to understand. It was all about, oh, I had a troublesome childhood. I'm weak, I'm vulnerable, so many excuses, not excuses, but back in those days, that is what I could understand. But, once he take charge, whatever gap there is, right, he will fill it. Like the way I see is, when you look at a home, it's a garden. And, the father, mother, they do their best to keep the garden safe so that the saplings can grow. But for some reason, for our own transformation, my father and mother, they did everything they could at that point in time, because I'm talking about 1982, right? That time frame. And when I look at it, we were in a forest, in a wild garden, I would say. And we were like, I relate it like a sunflower, and just getting that grace and sunlight from Swami, and we grow and blossom. So, that is how Swami got into our, we got into his fold. And when my father passed away, because as I mentioned before, my father was my best friend. So I want somebody to look up to. Then at that point in time, Swami is a person who can help me. That is what I know. I need somebody to look up to. And for me, I brought Swami as my father. That is the place I gave him, my mother and Swami. And my elder sister, definitely, she's a backbone for that's the reason we are here now. But I took him into my father's position. And from then I write letters to Swami. I would do it very formally. I would get the inland back in those days, okay, and write it down very officially to dearest Swami from this. Then I would go to the post office, put the stamp, then I post it. I don't know if Swami takes it or not, but in all my letter, I would thank him. I would ask him how he is. I would say, I have this confusion. I'm going through this, because I can't. Back in those days, like now, kids and parents are friends, right? But back in those days, my mom already is going through a lot, so I didn't want to share anything because we were all grieving about the loss. But he made sure that when I write that letter, I feel a little more clarity. I feel a little more peaceful. That is how my connection something. Because when my father, as I mentioned, right. My father, because of his alcoholism, he was only normal for a couple of months in a year. And then he would be close to 6 months, he would be in rehabilitation center. Then he would write letter to me and I would reply back to him. So when I lost him, I wrote that letter to Swami asking him the way I would communicate to my father. So that is how my relation with Swami. He's my father, mother, my everything. Now he is my best friend. Oh, I can't live without him. Okay. And so in our household, there was one thing very particular, irrespective anything that happens, any drama, or even if my dad comes heavy drunken, morning and evening prayer is a must. There is no excuse for that. You won't get a glass of water until you take a bath, go to the puja room and do your prayers. That is how my mother trained us. But then I did not understand any of those. I just went, I would go there and do the Gayatri mantra, the Ganesha mantra, everything that was taught. But later in life, I understand that discipline, that faith it's really important. just to navigate through this life. And that is something, Swami has taught from all this experience. Yeah, and I know because we have less in time, I'm just going one from the other. Okay. So.
No, take your time. Take your time. If we don't get through it today, there'll be another session next month. So take your time.
Okay.
Do it your own way and do it right, and that's all that matters. So,
okay. Yeah. Then one other experience was I was a very medium, average student. Okay, I was not like a A grader or anything. So it was always, my father has a different way of doing it, because my twin sister, she was really good in academics, and I was like an average student. So my father has a strategy every time. He made me wake up in the morning, because I cannot sit and learn after 8:30. I'm tired, I can't do it. So he would do that with me, wake me up in the morning. So from childhood, I have this habit of waking up in the morning. Oh, somebody's here. Okay, do not rush. Okay, I won't rush, don't worry. Yeah. So I have this habit of waking up in the morning. And the same thing, even after he passed away, that habit of waking in the morning, doing prayers, that helped me. I don't know how much I can explain, but that I have experienced the power of prayers. For me, even though I don't have that close proximity with Swami, I can feel his connection within. But I did not understand completely. I know he's there because I'm writing letter, right? I know that he knows and he's taking care of me. That's what I know. But what I was trying to say is, so I was a medium, average student. And as I mentioned before, the prayers, always the prayer and faith helped me, and he always make me worth of everything. So, in the 10th grade, when I passed out, I had a distinction. I never thought I would, but it was, whatever I could hard work then with the prayers and faith. That's what I know. I know I don't have I'm not a super intelligent kind of a person, but I know I will work the best I can, and rest is Bhagavan. I will do my part and Bhagavan will do his part. That is the, the belief that's been installed in me from a very young age. And my sister has a big role in that. And because, so we were 3 girls, and there were many, situations where I could have, gone a different path. There were many temptations, but, that fear of sin, right? Fear of sin in me never, I can actually say, I would write letter to Swami, Swami, this is happening. This has been happening to me. These are my thoughts. Can you help me out? No, I would write, but that faith, that prayers, that writing letter, as if I'm writing to my father, that really helped me not to deviate, irrespective of everything that was happening in my life, because that is a kind of freedom my mom, my elder sister has given us, and they trust us. And Swami made sure that, I follow my conscience. So that was a beautiful experience. Now, when at this age, when I reflect back, I would have been a total lost if he was not in my life. And so then I joined engineering college. I couldn't fit in with most of the friends because 2000, that is when I lost my father. I was 18 then. And I couldn't fit in with most of the students. I was still grieving. And again, the way Swami work, or the way he takes charges. There was a Tamil friend of mine who, first, I don't know, I do not remember exactly, but I know for 4 years, I was in the Bible class, and that reading the Bible, right? Reading, I know I was still writing letter, I pray, but that Bible class, the 4 years helped me to, come out of, whatever pain I was going through, because instead of trying to fit in, I tried the divine way, the spiritual way, because for me, that's when I realized without spirituality, my life, the balance will be gone. He is the, he is the, balance for me. So without that, spirituality in my life, it's lost. So he made sure that, like a father would do, right? Some children need some extra attention. Some kids need extra guidance. And he was there holding my hand saying that, okay, Rema, I know your father passed away. Doesn't mean that you can keep crying. Now go to the Bible class. That is how I see it. So I sat there every evening after college, sitting in the Bible class, reading the Bible. And, the way they pray, holding the hands, the positive vibe that you get, that is how I started loving, different religion. It's beautiful because, chanting the Sanskrit mantra, it's not helping me that age, right? But reading the Bible in English, but back then, I don't know if there was Radio Sai or I don't know, but reading the Joyce Meyer ministry article, reading the Bible, the way they explain it, that is again made me closer to Swami. So that was again his way to make sure that I am connected to him. He's always there, but a very patient parent, always there. Sometimes I get, distracted with all the mayas around my world, around me, but he's still there waiting. Okay, come back. Now it's time to come back. He would give that call. Such a beautiful friend and a parent. Then what happened is life went through, then I got married. But after marriage, I got a little disconnected from Swami. He is in my heart, but that heart-to-heart connection was not there. I would still do my morning and evening prayers, but that connection was gone a little bit. And I still remember, because my husband or my in-laws, they are both, he is not against Swami, but they do not agree to the concept of adoring a person in human form. But, I was lucky enough, I still have a picture of Swami in my bedroom. So I was again lucky there to get to be part of that family who understands me, because they know Swami is it's a bigger part of my life. So again, thanks to Swami to have such a, that kind of people, not against the Swami. And so after marriage, I know there is a void. I'm stressed. I am in, thoughts were killing me. And Renju was here. My husband, he was in the United States, and I was staying with my in-laws. There was one day I remember, I took Nandana, she was 1 year then, walked to a samadhi, Sai Samadhi nearby. It was actually a place where the roads are steep up and down, so there is no auto rickshaw, so you had to walk. So I remember taking her, walking through that road and getting to the samadhi. It was an afternoon. I just want to go. I know I'm missing it. I went there. There was nobody, but the center was open. I sat there and sit and cried for a long time. That is where I felt relieved. You know what? That cry, that helped me to connect back to him. And that's what. That losing that connection is like, I am kind of dead. That's what I would feel like. I cannot survive without him, without his guidance. Even though the Maya, everything that I see around me, tempt me for a little, I know it is temporary, because life has taught me that he is the permanent, companionship. So then, I got in touch with Swami. There were a couple of instances where I could go to the Samadhi. It was a beautiful experience. And then in 2011, I came to United States, and it was very tough for me, because the way I think about me is, what I am from this, when I have this upbringing, people would point, because you are from this family background, you don't know how to do this, how to do that, you don't know how to mingle. So there were many blames on me, and I just take it. Oh yeah, this was my upbringing. I do lack many things, and but I completely agree that when you have a family life, it is a responsibility of a mother and a father to have a safe and a happy environment for the child. Definitely it will have an impact on the kids. It is not easy, but how long, that's what I realized. But How long can you blame, right? We had a situation and, it was taken care, but I'm stuck. My thoughts are stuck into that. It's gone. Like when I was 18 years old, it was gone. The situation is gone, but I'm stuck into it. How many years can I be trapped into that? Now I can understand, but back then I was every weakness, everything people, blamed it on me. I lacked this, I lacked that. I thought it was because of my, growing up in a troublesome family, troublesome childhood. But he was telling me in a different way, which I couldn't hear, that I'm potential. I have the potential. I can do it, right? When I came to United States in 2011, it was very tough for me because even though I learned in English medium school, we don't use that often, right? At school we do, but otherwise we don't. Then all this energy and confidence that you see in a young adult now, like when I was like 25, 26, I was the weakest. I was the vulnerable. I would carry a smiling face, but I'm just torturing me within. So that was me, even though I keep a smile. And I would, so when I came to United States, I would still, write letter. I don't post it, but I would write letter to Swami, you know what? I'm here. I had to work. There is no way I'm sitting home. All the experience that I gathered so far, you help me out. I would write daily update. I would, that is how my communication with Swami, because he is the one who knows what I went through, because rest everywhere is judging me based on what they see, right? But whatever that is happening within me, how I, my history, everything he knows. So I made sure that I write to him. And there were many instances he was telling me, Rema, you don't have to be this vulnerable. You have the potential. Just, do it. So the confidence and, the strength that I gained was temporary. Like when I do it, when I connect it, I get it, I do it, I accomplish it. But that was not staying in me. It was like for a period and then it faded away. So that is how it was. Then what happened was, a mental stress, tension, then thyroid, tiredness, all kind of things. Whatever you can say, the mental torture, it was just, I was going through it. And, the way, I'm referring to Swami as my father, the way, okay, now he know that, what, I'm trying everything. I'm telling her she can do the best. She is awesome, but she's not getting it, right? Because my mind is disturbed. My mind is disturbed. I cannot see the world in a lens where Swami want to see me. So he enrolled me to a different school of thought, and that is Isha Foundation. So in Isha Foundation, it was more on meditation and yoga. So Swami know that reading scriptures, she's not getting it. I am telling her she's awesome, but she's not getting it. But which means that she need some training from the mind perspective. So then I was confused. You know what? Why Swami? Why am I getting between Swami and Sadguru? What am I missing? Am I getting more to Sadguru and less to Swami? So it was so much a confusing state whether I'm doing the right thing, right? So my mother, so I talked to my mother and she said, Rema, you are in a journey with Swami, right? You are not understanding something. So he's just asking you to refer a different textbook so that you can understand a little more. So that textbook was, maybe a deep, maybe in depth, or maybe a different perspective, right? And that cleared my confusion. That was an aha moment for me, where when my mother clarified that this is again, Swami's a way of teaching me, because so that opened my eyes. I did the yoga and meditation religiously for 2 years, and I could feel, whatever that was, nothing changed around me. But when I underwent through that course, the yoga and meditation, even though nothing around me changed, I could feel that peace within to an extent. I'm not saying completely. That's when that is when I realized, the way, Swami as a father, taking care of his child, because that is something we as a parents have to learn, right? When you teach something, like for kids, you teach something, you don't get it, you get angry, right? Why are you not getting this? No, look at him, the patience he has, figuring out different ways to help your child. He is the role model, like father and mother, we can all learn to. So anytime when I get upset with Nandan, I would think, okay, wow, what would Swami do? Okay, what did Swami do with me so far? He was patient. He was always there, right? Irrespective, I do the wrong and the right. Sometimes it happens. It's not an intention to do the bad things, but when it happens, he's always there to guide you and correct you, right? That is how we should be. So that was again, a beautiful experience, I had with Swami. And I have this habit of, writing letter, as I mentioned. And also whenever I have to make a decision, I have this habit of asking Swami for a sign, whether it be, buying a home in Austin, whether it be, so that let me tell you about that. So while we were planning to buy a home, I was like, okay, Swami, is this the right thing to do? Should we buy a home? So I just keep writing letter, and I asked Swami, give me a sign, we are doing the right thing. And then there's a picture of Swami that came in even before we moved in. So it was again, a beautiful experience. Swami showed me that, okay. And many, health condition. I asked Swami, okay, should I have a second child? And Swami showed me one of the underlying condition my daughter was going through, and we fixed it. So there are many things. You get in touch with him, he will guide you, right? Instead of going around and asking people, and we keep asking people until we find somebody who match with what we say, right? Don't do that. Just be in touch with him, ask him, he will guide. That is how I figured it out. And there were a couple of instances where, Swami would come into my dreams, not like frequent, but there was one instance where, I work for a company. So when I came to United States, I worked for a company for 8 years, and there was no paycheck, there was no pay raise. I was on the same pay scale for 8 years. And when I joined, as I mentioned, they saw that vulnerable side of Rema. She's weak, right? She will do everything that she's been asked to, but she's weak. And the first 5 years, 6 years was all smooth. And then came the, I had the confidence, I evolved into a little more better person, the version I was then. And I asked for a pay raise, and I was a little more confident to ask things, say that is wrong, this is right. And my manager was not so happy about it. It was a small company. And that's where the torture started. It was a roller coaster, all those, the office drama. I can't take it anymore. But, with the prayers, the yoga, meditation, I found a strength within me, where I said, Swami, you know what, this job is very important. Because, my boss is saying that because she's torturing me doesn't mean that I can just leave, because I'm in a work visa, the situation, right? So it's not easy to, make that quick decision and just say that, okay, because I'm hurt, I'm leaving this job. I need to contribute my family. That is really important. So I stayed back. And again, frequent writing to Swami, Swami, this is not fair. She said that to me. She said I'm a slave. No, this is not how an employee should be treated. All those conversations with him. And one day in my dream, Swami comes and he said, you know what, your manager, the Whole Foods. So I was working for Whole Foods as a client, as a contractor. And he said, Whole Foods is going to hire you, a manager is going to hire you, and they already applied for the work visa. Okay, I woke up and said, okay, thank you. That's a beautiful dream, Swami. Never going to happen, right? And just said, and I even shared that experience with my husband, saying that, okay, Swami came in my dream and he said, Whole Foods is going to process my visa. And to my surprise, that day when I went to office, my senior manager came to me and said, Rema, we are interested to hire you. Can you join the company? And I was like, wow. Because again, he makes me worth. I'm not there yet, but he makes me worth. I don't know how to put that in words, but that was, again, a moment where I wish I could, go and hug him in person, but he was always there. And I said, thank you, Swami. That was a beautiful aha moment. And then, once my company came to know that I'm going to get hired, then it was a different drama altogether. They're trying to fire me. And I don't know from where Swami get all those forces in place, people in place to protect me. And I joined the company after 2020 January, a Whole Foods employee. But, that, until from the time I was born to the time I was 38, everything, I know there was a phase I was suffering, but later then I was suffering my thoughts. It was just the thoughts, not the real suffering. Anything anybody say, I know that what Swami taught me was, take over your senses. Your senses are, driving you crazy. So, helping me master the senses was another journey. So what he did for that was, so that's when the COVID happened in 2020, right? March. And so that was a time that, all the extended family members, they all decided to connect to each other. And we decided, okay, as a family, let's learn the, Hindu literature, like Bhagavad Gita, Ramayana, Bhagavatam, etc. And that's when I'm reading, I'm understanding about the yugas, the panchakoshas and everything. And that is when it is striking me, oh my God, isn't this what Swami is saying? And when they talk about, Rama, Krishna, all the avatars, all the incarnation, I'm just thinking, isn't this Swami, the Kali Yuga avatar? And I got an opportunity to see him, not so in close proximity, but in the long distance, that orange robe, floating. Am I lucky? I am so lucky. I was not worth, but he made me worth. That moment, I couldn't hold my tears. The person that I was looking up to was, it's not just a guru, but God itself. He picked me out of, millions of people. I was not worth. we were born in that family for a reason, so that he could pick us. So, this moment, I really want to thank my father and my mother, who allowed us to be part of that family, so that, we get handpicked by him. It was that, the way, the journey, Swami, taking care of us, then enrolling into different schools of thought, so that, so that I understand. And that is when Swami thought, oh, you know what, this girl, she need more things to stay connected. And that is when I enrolled as a SSC Guru training. And from then on, every SSC class, it's not for the children, but it's actually for me. And every topic that I take, I tell Swami, you know what, because whenever there is a winter break or any break, right, the 2 weeks of break, I get restless because that is a way for me to stay connected, because we are not prepping the class for the previous day, right? That thought, the topic, we start prepping in our mind from Monday. And Monday to Saturday, it gets into a form or a shape based on our interaction with him. And then by the time we present, as Swami says, you just don't preach, you have to practice. So you can't just go and talk, right? So we practice. So every week, the SSC class is actually teaching me, reminding me, whatever he wants me to. It's my journey. It's actually, I'm glad I got the opportunity to be SSC guru, but he know me as a child need more connection. I have to be in touch with him, because without that connection, without drawing that power from him, I am nothing. Mm-hmm. And one other fun fact was the Knowing Swami series, right? So reading Mahabharata, Ramayana, everything, I'm learning the childhood of, we learned everything, all this when we were child, but nothing, stuck or sinking, right? Now, when I teach the Knowing Swami series, I'm like, okay, this is none other than, God. So I don't know how to explain, but, that moment, the experience that you feel, the content, the way he makes sure that, I am connected to him. It's I cannot explain that love. I'm so much in love with him. That's what I could say. Then what? So to summarize, the way I would say is, Swami taught that I had a suffering, and I was suffering from 18 to 38, or I could say 18 to 38 is 20 years. I was just suffering my thoughts. And being an SSC guru, being connected to Swami, reading the thought for the day is always, it's my way to cleanse or to overcome my senses. And Swami has taught me a way that whenever thought comes, just say, shush, get out. This is not me. Because sometimes the kind of thoughts that comes into your brain, I'm like, no, that is not me. So I have this habit of calling, back in our mother tongue, the way we call father is Acha. So I will call Acha. No, my family knows when I do that, because that is thoughts. And that was a thoughts who, that wasted my 20 years of my life, even though I was not suffering, not taking, because anybody can say anything, right? Based on how they feel that day. But, just learn that. Okay, let them say, I'm not taking it. I'm just, letting it go through the other ear. So all those trainings and helping me to be a better mother. Even now, I wouldn't say that there are some part of the hours in the day I'm unconscious, right? And so I have this picture of Swami just in front of me, and Swami would say, okay, now you are in unconscious mode, connect to me. So, I don't know. For me, it is a constant, constant connection with him. And without him, I'm nothing. And I will wrap up saying that, Swami, thank you so much for everything. You were always there as a parent, and I should learn from you to be a better parent, to a better human being. And the way you, enroll me into different classes to understand who I am. Nobody can do the way you do it. So with that, thank you so much, Sairam.
The beauty of this whole journey that you described, and even though we're at almost 10 minutes past time, I think the thing is, you described the beautiful, the journey of a normal devotee is like this. It has so many ups and downs, frustrations, trials, tribulations.
Yes.
You grew up in a wild garden, and it almost seemed like there were thorns everywhere. But Swami has somehow taught you, he took you to Bible class, he took you to Sadhguru, he took you to different means, SSC now. I mean, he's just taken you letter writing. He's just made sure that he somehow helps you navigate these thorns in the wild garden rather beautifully. And but of course, it does seem like you've had a very intense journey, even through what you were talking. It's been a very intense and very real journey. I think something that a lot of us can relate to in its realness. So I really want to thank you in terms of talking through the entire journey, because interestingly, you said there was a point in which you lost that connection to Bhagwan. So
Yeah.
how did you regain that connection? Because I didn't think it sunk into me, the listener, as to how you regain that connection. If you could just take a minute before we call it a day.
Yeah. So what I felt was a void. I know I'm not happy. See, father, I was grieving and everything. So I'm in a married setup, right? I have husband, I have father-in-law, mother-in-law, I have everything. But that void, I'm missing something. That is where that call, there is a call. When you listen to it, right? Already there is a noise. There is not many noises out there. But when you listen deeply, even though there is everybody, but you still feel alone, right? That is where you feel, I'm missing something that I've been doing. And that connection is, I went to that samadhi, but after that is like connecting to him, writing to him, praying to him. That like sometimes the prayers is like a muscle. You just do it because you don't have that connection. You just do it because you are used to it doing. I'm used to doing prayers in the morning and in the evening, but there is no connection. But once I went there and I cried out, oh my God, I'm missing you. And Swami is saying, I'm always here. You are the one, just left me. But you can always come back. But that going there, crying out my guilt, I missed you, Swami. That was a moment I connected back to him. But doesn't mean that, when you believe in Swami or believe in God, doesn't mean that life is going to be smooth, right? He just made sure that, there'll be trials, there'll be victories, there'll be sufferings, but you hold on to me, I will help you sail through this. And it took me a while. It took me a while to understand that. But now when I talk to you, Sriram, when I observe my mind, my state of mind, I'm happy, I'm content. I might have, that fearlessness, that confidence that is imbibed in me right now. I know it is permanent. It was not, because he made me go through many places, to help me understand who I am. So
thank you so much, Sister Rema, because that self-confidence and you feel it, you feel it within, and that bond and that connection to Bhagwan has instilled that capital S self-confidence for sure. And that I think is, prime and center through that story. I think we'll call it a day at this point, but Raghu was supposed to be the third speaker. He'll be the next time around, but Raghu incidentally is a very good singer. So Raghu, if you could end it with a small bhajan, anything that's close to your heart, go for it.
Oh, yeah, sure. So anyway, this bhajan I wanted to give it as part of the speech, but nevertheless I'll sing this one close to my heart. Again, I will, when I'm giving the speech, I will sing that again there. So there's one bhajan which is very close from my childhood and with some experiences when I joined with Swami's grace. The Sundaram bhajan group is Sreedharakurup Charanam Komala Charanam. So I think everybody would have known that. So just sing it with Swami's grace. Sreedharakurup Charanam Komala Charanam Manjula Charanam Mama Guru Charanam Sreedharakurup Charanam Komala Charanam Manjula Charanam Mama Guru Charanam Mridula Charanam Anugraha Charanam Mridula Charano Anugraha Charano Sadguru Charanam Sada Smarami Premadata Sai Gurunatha Premadata Sai Gurunatha Pavana Charanam Sada Smarami Pavana Charanam Sada Smarami Sreedharakurup Charanam Komala Charanam Manjula Charanam Mama Guru Charanam. Sairam. I would be sharing this experience more in the
Sure,
upcoming.
sure. Absolutely. Look forward to listening to you next month. And
All right,
Sairam,
sure.
everyone. I think we'll end it with Om and 3 Shantis. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sairam, everyone. And sorry for going over today. Sairam.
Sairam.
Sairam. Hey, thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, Sairam.
And Raghu, sorry to
Yeah.
about this month. So yeah,
No
I guess
problem.
you'll be next month.
Yeah,
I hope
Swami
you-
wants me to do it in it was very cramped today, but still, but maybe Swami wants me to do it in yeah.
No, it was. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was very beautiful. It was those two had a lot of similarities, the SSC and think before you speak, and it was just wonderful to hear. A lot of they have told the majority of the things actually. It was so nice.
So certainly next month you kind of begin. Okay.
Oh, sure. So you just wanted to know, just next month would be like any particular day? It's like the third Friday or fourth Friday.
Generally, it so happens that it ends up being the fourth Friday of the month, but
Okay.
generally I keep it open according to the speaker's preference. So whatever works for the speaker, that's the Friday we go with. It so happens that oftentimes it ends up being the last Friday.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
if some other Friday works, say Spring Break Friday next month works, I think we'll try to go with that. You know what I mean?
Okay. Fine. Maybe I think 11th or 25th it should be good for me. Just telling an up and
Sure. Perfect. So 11th and 25th work for you, right?
Yeah, 11th and maybe 18th could work, but I don't know because spring break we don't know it'll be in room or outside. So 11 and 25 should be good.
Sure. Okay. Done.
Okay, Sairam.
Sairam.